What was your worst experience with alcohol as a teenager? First time drinking at my boyfriend's grad party. Start with beer, then margaritas, then shots. We literally lined up a dozen different types of liquor and took them all. I was so gone. The last thing I remember was him holding my hair while I puked. I guess after that I fell down the basement stairs, but have no memory of that. I woke up later on the floor of the living room, where I puked next to myself, and then rolled over. I proceeded to do this all the way across the living room floor, but I couldn't get up, I was so sick. The next morning they tried cleaning me up and getting me to drink water, but even a lick of a popsicle made me dry heave. It went on for about 3 days. Pretty sure I had alcohol poisoning. Worst hangover ever. I was 17, at a party with a bonfire. There was tons of liquor, but most importantly there were 4 lockers circa 2005. I proceeded to drink 1.5 Four Locos. By time I got halfway through the second one I blacked out. Next thing I know I'm laying in just my boxers and shoes on the hood of some guy's Jeep Cherokee. Was later told that I got super wasted and got cold and threw my clothes in the bonfire to warm them up. Then proceeded to go shot for shot with any and everyone who would join, taking shots of diesel 190 proof liquor. Then made out with my friend's sister. Then tried to play hacky sack in the dark next to a bonfire. Maybe the time I went to sleep under a parked car. Or maybe the time I passed out face down in a pile of broken glass. Or the time I passed out in a field and my friends assumed I'd gone home and I got left there. Or perhaps the time I threw up, passed out, and ripped the toilet seat off the toilet on the way down. Or maybe the time my father swung me around the kitchen by the front of my shirt because I dared to take another beer. Shrugs, too much to choose from really. We were hanging out with some friends and decided to drink. So everything went well until we lost control and drank way too much. That night didn't end well for any of us. There was one guy who was so wasted he couldn't even stand properly. And that's when he started to sexual assault me. Nothing too bad happened because a friend saw it and helped me. At the end of the night he puked everywhere and we had to call the ambulance after he passed out. Drinking in a park before walking home, hammered to the wrath of my dad opening the door for me. Throwing up at a party because I was drinking new beers. Spending an hour near the toilet and then passing out downstairs. Wake up next to some girl who was into me. She still made out with me. Prom night. Sharing a whiskey with my dad when nobody invited me to the after party with all my friends. Drank probably equal to 2 bottles of alcohol in like 6 hours. Woke up the next day and went swimming. Bringing water, became super dehydrated and I lived in the bathroom for the next 24 hours throwing up everything. My parents went out of town and I decided to get into their alcohol supply. All they had was gin and 14-year-old me knew nothing about it. So I mixed it with Dr. Pepper and went to town on it. Would not recommend. I think I was 19 when someone had me take a sip of some expensive whiskey. PFFFFFFFFFT. Acquired taste. Tasted like the liquefied smell of a wet sheepdog, plus it burned. That I didn't have any. Raised by super strict parents and internalized their absolute hatred of anyone who drank, smoked, etc. Now I'm 31 and probably an alcoholic. I drank to forget a girl. I ended inside an ambulance, spend all the night in the floor of a basketball court, and still remembering the girl the next day, but since then, I can't smell whiskey. Sitting in silence for 4 hours at a BBQ, and getting absolutely wrecked drinking beer after beer, and not eating any of the dry burnt food. My first experience with alcohol. Drank about 3/4 of a bottle of Jack Daniels when I was 16. Remember just hitting the deck, then waking up the next day in some random bed with a sore head. Running around in my socks on the wet grass at Jason Teacher's WrestleMania party, and puking in his kitchen, and sleeping in the bathtub. I drank while I was on antibiotics. Do not drink while you're taking antibiotics. Well, I'm 17 now, and tonight is the first night that I'm drinking alcohol. Non-existent, as I never drank alcohol when I was a teenager. Just sitting on the footpath and laughing for no reason. Falling asleep in my sister's closet, or so she claims. Best friend died of alcohol and hydrocodone mixture. If I could remember any of them, I would tell you. I got suspended from my high school for a month. Running out of it that one night,